Okay, so sometimes I like to knit blanks for dyeing. If you don't know what a knitted blank is, you're about to find out if you keep watching. And there are several ways of knitting blanks for dyeing. The first way is with a pair of knitting needles. That way is very, very slow. It can be done, but it's very slow if you knit by hand with needles. Another way is to use one of these circular looms. Once again, you're knitting by hand, but you're using a device to do it, and it goes a little bit faster. The best way that I have found so far is an Addi Express, because it's a little bit like one of these looms, except it has a handle. So it really speeds up the process. And then of course the other way of making knit blanks is to use a knitting machine. I don't have a knitting machine, and I don't have room for one. I don't have the money for one, so this works well for me. Alright, so I'll show you how to use this. You'll notice that it has black hooks and white hooks. So the black hooks are usually to mark the start of the round. And you can also set this on knitting in the round or knitting a flat panel. But for knitting a blank in order to dye it, I find that knitting a round one is easy and works well. So let's start with your yarn. I've got an 8-ply yarn here. I've used, I think, as small as a 3-ply yarn on this, and it worked okay. It just took a really long time because it's such a thin yarn. Some people say that they have trouble with their Addis if they use a yarn that's not thick enough, but the 8-ply is just about perfect, I'd say. So let's just start by leaving a bit of a tail, and we'll put that on the inside, and we're going to tuck that over our first black hook and just let the tail fall to the inside. Now we're going to start turning the handle, and as we do, we want, this first one has gone under this hook, we want the next one to go around the back of the next hook. Okay, keep turning. The same thing here, I want this to go around the front of this one. So whatever I did for the last one, I want to do the opposite for the next one. So you're basically going around the back of that one, around the front of this one. This is casting on. Around the back, and it's stiff. Around the front, around the back, around the front. Okay, we keep doing that all the way around until we get back to our tail. Around the back. I'll just mention too with these, they are a bit expensive. But I got mine second hand from a lovely lady on Ravelry, so it's worth looking around for any equipment like this. I'd say you can save yourself, you know, half as much money if you look around and see if anybody's selling a second hand. Ask people in the right circles, places like Ravelry, Facebook, yarn groups, all those kind of places. Okay, so I've gotten back to my original black hook, and the tail's still hanging down on the inside, so that means that it's time for me to bring this through the race. Actually, I'll show you what it looks like before. Okay, so that's clipped in place, but we pull that back, put this through here, and make sure it comes down through the hole so that it's secure in there. Then we can put that back. Now once this is done, I will just put a little bit of tension on this. I usually just hold it here with my left hand and wind with my right hand. Obviously I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, you might need to do something a bit different. And I just put a light tension on that. I wouldn't let it go, and I wouldn't be holding it super tight either. Just a light tension. And go a bit slowly for the first round. Just to make sure that all of your stitches are in the right places. I have to unravel my yarn. This is, it's good if you can have an easy way of your yarn unraveling. I've got this giant ball that I'm using. If you've got a cone of yarn or something like that, that would be good. If you've got maybe a Lazy Susan that can unravel the yarn. Okay, so you see I'm back at the black starting hook again, and now I'm pretty much right to go. And you can get pretty fast at this. And it's just now, from now on, turning the handle. So we'll come back in a minute when I've made a bit of progress to show you what's happening with this. Okay, so I'll just stop there for a minute just to show you what's happening on the inside. You can see that it's starting to form a tube, and it's just good to have a check at this point. Have a look. You can see there's no holes, there's no skip stitches, everything's looking good, so I'm right to keep knitting. Okay, so I have knit 100 grams, and that's as much as I wanted to do for this particular blank. So I'm back at my starting hooks again, and I'm just going to cut this yarn, leaving a tail. Okay, what we do at this point is open up the race. Yep, just let that come out of there and tuck it to the inside of the work. Alright, then we can just start turning the handle again as we did before, and this is going to cast it off for us. And casting off is even easier than casting on. Once it gets back to the start of the round, it'll actually start taking the stitches off entirely. Okay, so at this point you probably want to retrieve your tail, because we kind of need to secure the stitches that are coming off. So we'll thread that up, and in here I can see there's a stitch there, so I'm going to take the needle through that stitch. Same for this one. Okay, next one. And if you're not confident that you can catch the stitches, you can actually get them while they're still there. Oh dear, can you see this? Getting my hands in the way, maybe you can't see. Let's try that again. Okay, so I can see my stitch here. If I get my needle under that before it pops off, then I can secure it. But it's probably better if I do it from this side, hoping that you can still see. There we go, that's a better way to do it. Alright, oops, I've just pulled that one off. Never mind, I don't mind a bit of unraveling. Okay, grab that one, grab the next one, grab that one, it's already jumped off. Keep doing that right around. You can keep knitting and just let them pop off and try and retrieve them if you want to, but if it's important that you don't get any unraveling or holes, for example if you're actually making a garment, then you'd want to be catching these stitches. As a knit blank, we just want to secure these ends so that it's not unraveling while we're dyeing it, and then we get these long threads and it gets to be a bit of a pain, so it's better to have them all secure. Okay, got that one, and that one, and that's it. Now we can put that aside and show you what we've got. Okay, so that is our knit blank. You see it's a long tube, this is the other end, and here we've gathered up the stitches. There's one that got away, and we can just I usually do like a light slip knot there to secure that, because I want to undo it later again. And then we can have a look at the other end and do the same with that, just gather in the stitches Oh, that didn't work. Okay, so we can just go around the edges of that as well. And gather up those stitches. This end won't tend to unravel, but it's nice to have it all there together. Can do a pretty rough job on this end. Okay, do the slip knot again, and there we go. We have our blank all ready for dyeing, and this is really great for dyeing gradients because you've got a long length of knitting that you can dye and then undo later. And the best advice I can give you at this point is, if you've got a cat, hide it.